So anyone have questions? And just please do your best to project. Yes? Sorry, a goal in terms of iteration frequency. We don't have a formal goal for iteration frequency, but I think at least quarterly is reasonable for us going into 2025. There is a lot of work to be done here. In particular, seeing the language support come up should happen relatively fast on that type of timeline. Any other questions? Yes? Sean, I think he asked, how are the severity and risk calculated in benchmarks?
Sure, the severity and likelihood. For each of the risks initially, there's an assumed likelihood of 1 on each of them in the absence of any particular response on it. And then the responses help update that. The severity has a more natural, absent, more context association we can put on it, and that's we have a graduated scale that we're developing additional criteria that helps assign it. We've been debating on each of them, but the thing to keep in mind when it comes to a lot of these information security frameworks, risk frameworks, and everything is you're building something that's useful to the purpose, and you can refine it, make it better, but a kind of off-the-cuff number is actually a pretty useful one at the start of it.
If we ever make Sean fully happy, we'll have a pretty good benchmark. I think that's the summary. Other questions? Yes? What are we doing to spread the word? And I'm going to hand that one to you, Marisa.
Of course. So there are a few things. For each of the use cases that I showed, there is a trajectory on the website so that people can actually follow that and be able to start using it. We are also going into 2025, going into very specific areas for each of those use cases to be able to spread the word in a way, in places where those people actually are. Because again, while builders are used to benchmarks, we don't think that everybody is, even though we do think that it's critical right now. So those are a few of the things, and I know that there are also various marketing strategies that are happening as well for AILuminate to get it out, and there's, of course, the paper that's going to be coming out.
Thank you. In particular, partnerships, I think, are going to be crucial for us. We have a really valuable metric here that I think can form a good component of other tool chains, methodologies, processes that are also seeking to reach that market. Question?
When you were creating the suite of evaluators, in what ways did the evaluators differ from each other than maybe model map?
I will hand that to Shaona.
Thanks for the question. So the question is, when we were developing the suite of evaluators, how did the evaluator differ from each other than the fact that they had different model backbones? So that's a great question. So we, first of all, I think it's important to measure. How did we measure all of these different backbones? So we kept the certain things constant. So we kept the human evaluation set constant. We kept our taxonomy the same. And we also had the metric that we were interested in, and we also had like a bunch of other metrics that we tracked. So what we observed is that for a number of these prompt engineered models, they were very susceptible to how the prompt engineered version was to the taxonomy. So if we change the taxonomy in a certain way, or we provide the prompt in a certain manner, the results would be different from the ones that we did not prompt engineer, but we fine-tuned from scratch. So the fine-tuned models would be much better at being defensive because we wanted them to be extra safe. whereas the other ones would be more permissive on certain like ambiguous categories. So there was this balance that we needed to track. A lot of the off-the-shelf evaluators would be permissive because they want to make the models helpful. And if you want to make a model helpful, you want to be able to permit a lot of use cases. So I think there was this delicate balance, and we tried to measure a different variety of metrics like false safe, false unsafe, precision recall, AUPRC, and we kind of had a bunch of threshold analysis to see how sensitive these models were, and we'll continue to do that, actually. Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, perfect, thanks.
All right, other questions? Yes. So the testing, the official results are performed by MLCommons. So it's an MLCommons server that has the hidden prompts that pings the models being tested with the prompt and records the responses and then evaluates on an MLCommons server. And we did check with all organizations involved that they were not recording those prompts. So that's part of what is necessary to have a benchmark that resists overfitting. Shaona, I don't know, do you have any more thoughts on this? Because I think this is an important integrity aspect.
Sure. So I think the background on the question is probably something to the effect of if you are shipping the data over to the set deployer and having been evaluated there, how can you have any sense that the data won't find its way into its training program and destroy the benchmark? Is that a fair Yeah. And the thing that I believe the program settled on this one is one of primarily legalistic protections that if the benchmark data is exposed by the set developer as a result of them running the inference on it, they've done a bad thing. They've actually violated the terms and representations made to the program. So that is something that when we were scoring it, it's something that we, I think, decreased the likelihood of it happening, but not the severity of it happening if it were to happen. Because if it is exposed, then you need to produce a new data set and re-roll it. But you do have means of detecting it. You can detect when the data has been leaked out. I believe there's a commitment to monitoring the web to see if the data has found its way out there. You can also statistically analyze the performance of different systems to see whether the performance starts getting more and more curious and the benchmark starts smelling, and then you can react appropriately to that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that last point because I think it's an important one. We made more prompts than we needed, and so what we plan to do is over time rotate in new prompts. And if we have a system that does fantastic on old prompts and not so good on new prompts, we'll have a difficult conversation with the vendor of that system. All right, let's take one last question and then we'll wrap up.
We have a question. We have a question from the audience.
Okay.
They asked, how do you ensure that your hidden prompts that pinged SUT remain actually secret and hidden since they actually ping tested models on their servers?
So that was a great question. It's a variation on what was just asked. So two things. One, we reach at least an agreement and ideally contractual agreement with those folks not to do that. And the other is that over time we substitute in new prompts and we look for differences in performance across new and old prompts. And with that, I think we're out of time on Q&A. We will have a lunch after this and come hunt us down and ask us more questions. We like talking about this stuff. So thank you very much to everyone up on stage for your fantastic presentations and great answers.